We had them and they got loose and they started killing people.
Well, I could just say that
if you're one of the people killed in 2005, does it matter to you when we released them?
Suggest that a president of your own party released them in.
I'm suggesting the system has failed miserably, and advocates to change this system, like she was advocating, would destroy our ability to protect this country. We're at war. We're not fighting a crime. This is not some passage of time event. As long as they're dangerous, I hope they all die in jail if they're going to go back and kill Americans. It won't bother me one bit if 39 of them die in prison. That's a better outcome than letting them go. And if it costs $500 million to keep them in jail, keep them in jail, because they're going to go back to the fight. Look at the friggin' Afghan government. It's made up of former detainees at Gitmo. This whole thing by the left about this war ain't working.
Let me also note that Larry Thompson, who served as Deputy Attorney General under President George W. Bush, or incurred.
In case you're wondering, like I was, like, what the hell does this have to do with the confirmation process here with this potential Supreme Court seat here? Well, let's get some background on what Lindsey Graham was upset about that had nothing to do with this. One of the recurring topics was Ketanji Jackson's representation of Guantanamo Bay detainees during her career as a public defender. So the judge explained that she was, quote, standing up for the constitutional value of representation with her work. And as this topic came up during questions from Graham, he went into a tangent about how many Gitmo detainees rejoined extremist groups after being released. He's long advocated, as we probably heard, because he likes to be a tough guy when it comes to war and detainees. He's long advocated for the continued use of wartime detention without trial as a method of first introduced under the Bush administration. The United States has not utilized this method for newly captured detainees since the Bush era, but presidents since his time have kept it to allow the prison to hold its slimming number of legacy detainees. So as he's questioning Ketanji Jackson on this whole thing and how she was a public defender and their job is to be assigned to someone and defend them, this is where he also stormed off, as you guys saw, very upset about everything that happened. And there was a check back later to see when or if he showed back up. Let's watch and see if he did.
Also note that Larry Thompson, who served as Deputy Attorney General under President George W. Bush,
very clearly has determined that in order.
There he goes, snatching his Diet Coke, taking off and making sure that he's not coming back. I'm not sure what point he did or if he did come back, Michael. But he does have a bit of a history on doing these things. I want to get to that one in a second, but first I'm gonna get your thoughts about this current outburst, because he has a reputation like this.
Yeah, well, it's obviously childish. He's a senator, and a little bit of context. The senators often come in, say their piece, get up and go to the committee hearing or someplace else. He's sort of left in more of a huff than they usually do. And one thing he's, he always will bring up the fact that he was a judge advocate general, which is sort of the justice part of the military. And so he thinks that he knows more about this. He is the ranking on judiciary. So he has these positions that he takes. He's also got a chip on his shoulder about the fact that he thought Michelle Childs, another African-American judge from South Carolina, should have been chosen. He's a senator from South Carolina. And to that end, I think he's sort of the whiny baby here about the fact that a South Carolinian wasn't chosen. And even though he advocated to the president that that's who he should choose, he's pretty upset about it. And then this is a way for him to grandstand. This is a little more of us versus them. Arabs bad, we good, and they can die in prison. So it's a chance for Lindsey Graham to grandstand, which he likes doing, but it's often to an echo chamber.
When it comes to the child suggestion, by the way, as I think everyone can agree, he can suggest all he wants. He can say, sure, bring someone from South Carolina. This will look great. I'm not, again, even as he was doing it, I was like, sure, fine, do it, but he can decide what he wants. You're not the president. But then what does that really do for him? As you said, senator from South Carolina, is that some kind of a glowing representation or endorsement of he or a state? How does that work within politics?
Well, what it does is she's an African-American judge. He stands for election again in 4 years. He's gonna have to, go to the polls, and if he's gonna run again, he's gonna be able to point to the fact that he advocated for this African-American judge, and African-American voters in South Carolina are important. So that's the sort of the base politics he's playing here. South Carolina has a very conservative senator in Tim Scott, who is African-American, the only African-American in the Republican Senate, and I think it's really important too to note that that what Graham does in these cases is orchestrated, right? The entire Judiciary Committee on both sides says, you're gonna question on this, you're gonna question on this, and you're gonna question on this. And that's why you see this, everybody seems to have an agenda. And this has been Graham's agenda for a long time.
I'm glad you mentioned that part, because as we wrap this particular story up, I did remember that Lindsey Graham does like to have outbursts like this at Supreme Court confirmation hearings, even when the person that's up is in agreement with him and he is looking to confirm. Remember this, watch.
Wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham, that you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it, because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process, you came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
Wonder if Lindsey Graham had these types of anger and energy when it came to Donald Trump, because in 2015, when they started their primary fight against him when he was running for president, there was a lot of opposition and pushback, but not much fire anymore since Donald Trump told him to sit down and shut up and stay in his place. But there's anger all the time he needs any time to have an outburst at a Supreme Court confirmation. Again, these type of things, I'm not sure how much they help him, especially nowadays. Maybe it's an old school thing, but I don't think people are really buying this anymore, Mike.
Well, they don't buy him as a national figure anymore, and that was what he had wanted. And probably, when during the Kavanaugh hearings, it was it was upping his profile. And these things are always about grandstanding, and it happens on both sides. We have to say that, but the anger and the sort of the fake ire that he shows about these things, he's a showman, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. And he was one of the impeachment managers for Bill Clinton in 1998, and during those Clinton hearings at the Judiciary Committee for his impeachment, Graham was always the provocateur, trying to get people to think that he was actually going to vote in favor of Bill Clinton. And as it got closer and closer, he didn't. And this is how he uses these soapboxes to get those points across and to try and sort of up his national profile. He wants us to be talking about what he did yesterday, today. So in a sense, we're giving him his wish.
Well, except I'm not sure how much it's helping anything outside of the folks who already follow him.